game of
Welcome to episode 243 of Friars on the Farm. I'm Donovan, and with me is Roy.
Oh, we're pulling double duty today, Donovan.
Double
we're recording
duty.
2 episodes.
The first episode is going to have the Ryan Bergert interview, and then we're going to have the affiliate rundown. A lot to talk about during the affiliate rundown. Tons of pitching, a walk-off, a grand slam. Then the second episode is going to be more about the business of the side of not only minor league baseball, but amateur baseball and affiliate ball. The perfect game saga continues. This situation continues to develop. We'll be talking about that. There's another article that came out. We have some fresh information that I think is going to be pertinent. Continuing with a former friend of the podcast, or a friend of the podcast, and Joshua Kuznick. But then we have the JJ Cooper article, a bunch of stuff in that second episode that isn't Padre minor league specific, but definitely stuff that we want to cover that we like to talk about.
Right. We like talking about, we've talked so much about player pay and living situations. We've talked about the changing business kind of landscape of baseball. So there's some information about ownership, about that Diamond Holdings that's buying up all the minor league teams, and a little bit of fun stuff with animals, a couple of wacky things. There's a turtle, there's a rock lobster out there. It's just some, there's only so much room in the bucket for an episode. So we decided to split this one up and do a standalone one and talk about all that fun stuff. But first we got to talk about Padres, what's going on with the big league team. And this team, they just can't, they play up to their competition. They play down to their competition. I went to the game last Tuesday. I got my Joe Musgrove and Theo bobblehead. The little dog's bobble, his head bobbles too. But that was the highlight of the day because that was just a flat performance by a team that just looked like it had no fight in them. Then they go out to Atlanta, play the team with the best record in baseball, and so far they've taken 3 out of 4, and they still have a chance in this last game.
Yeah, Vasquez pitched really well today in both those games. The first game was at like 9:30 in the morning. I was deep in work. But go back to the game that you went to. I was at the same game. What inning did you leave? I mean, Libby wanted to leave in like the 4th inning. I'm like, oh, take it easy. Let's stay a little bit longer.
I want to say it was the 6th.
We ended up leaving after the at-bats in the bottom of the 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, they it's funny. At the beginning of the inning, I told my friend Justin, I was like, you know what, if they score 4 or more runs in this inning, I'll stick around. And that was that inning that they scored 3. And I think they had runners on base still when that inning ended. And I kind of looked at him like, that was fun. That was exciting. But I don't think it's happening. So we left.
Yeah, absolutely. We left with our bobbleheads and that's fine. That's what happens. And this is one of the things about, the team has taken 2 steps forward, a step back. Seems to be like they're 2 steps forward. We'll see what happens with the Reds. And then we come back home where our record's been absolutely horrible. We're playing the first place team in the Yankees. So it's they're going to have to find a way to win at home and play better at home if they want to do anything with this season.
Yeah, well, I'll be out of town next weekend. So thank you to the Yankees fans that spent top dollar on my tickets for Friday and Sunday. I believe those 2 games paid for a month or 2 of our season tickets. So thank you to them. I hope we get some polite Yankees fans in our seats, not talking too much trash to the pitchers.
No, and how did you are you sure that they're Yankee fans, or do you just know Padres fans aren't going to pay?
No, we sold them on SeatGeek, so I'm just assuming that they're. It's been a while since the Yankees were in town, and they've got fans everywhere. So I'm sure they're gonna pack the house this weekend, but it's not going to be like when that team from the blue team from up north decides to come down here and take a parade through the East Village when they lose a series in San Diego. That was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. So, they're like I said, we talked about this earlier before we came on. The strength of this team are going to have to be with Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Alexander Bogaerts. Like those guys have got to perform a little bit like what Manny did today. Not every time is he going to come through in the clutch, but he has to be more consistent. Those guys need to get it going for us to be anything other than maybe a 500 team at best.
That double, I saw something in that double. I wonder if he's been working on something mechanically, because he stayed down and through that pitch better than I've seen him do on for a while. Because lately he's been just rolling over everything. He's been a
Yeah.
ground ball machine, grounded into double plays, and like, even when you just need him to hit a fly ball out to the grass to get the runner in from third, he can't seem to get that done. But you see somebody that stays down, gets through the ball, hits that nice line drive, not trying to hit a home run, just trying to drive the ball. Maybe there's something that clicks. It's
Yeah.
funny. It doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't. It's usually keeping that front shoulder closed, and you're not flying open where you're either going to get under the ball or you're going to top it and hit it and roll over. It's good to see. Like, we're going to need those guys. We are the team we are. We have the record now on the strength of some really good pitching. Jackson Merrill and Profar, really, and Jurix and Profar.
Yeah, and Cronenworth is off to
And
a real
Crum.
good start too. But man, imagine where this team would be if it wasn't for those three guys. Luis Camposano doing some good hitting. So if Manny gets going, if Tatis turns into superstar Tatis that we know he can be, then this team's going to take off.
Absolutely. All right, before we go on, go to Apple, hit subscribe, give us a review, go to YouTube, smash subscribe. I've been adding videos to all our episodes there. That's been pretty fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. We have merch. It's at T-Chip. I'll put the description and a code for you to get 50% off in the episode description. Follow us on X, on Instagram, on Threads. I'm posting videos and stuff on all those social media outlets. Do it for us. We like to do it. We like putting out this content. We love to have you guys follow us. All right. All right. There we go.
All right. So the Padres have had a couple of minor transactions on the minor league side, but they're kind of major league adjacent.
Yeah.
They released Matt Testa, reliever. He was with the Mariners organization the last couple of years, playing in the majors. I imagine it's one of those opt-out things where if you're not on a big league roster by a certain date, you can trigger that opt-out. So they released him. I saw he signed with the Mets, just like that.
Yeah.
So farewell, Matt Testa. We hardly knew ye. And then they signed David Peralta to a minor league deal. This was
legendary Padre killer, David Peralta.
Oh my God, he's just destroyed the Padres.
Yeah.
So I guess if you can't beat him, sign him to a minor league contract, right?
Yeah, and he hit really well. The same day that they announced the signing, he was in the lineup. And then
so far he's 2 for 8. He has yet to get an extra base hit, drew a walk. I pulled up his baseball reference here. He hasn't been hitting all that well the last couple of years. Last year he was with the team up north, batted 259, 294, 381 in 133 games with them. The Padres, they've got position players. It just never hurts to have a little bit more depth in case somebody gets hurt and somebody's hot in AAA. It's better to bring up somebody with experience than somebody who's wet behind the ears.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're seeing a little bit of that right now. And Donovan Solano's having the professional at bats, playing some okay third base. He got a couple balls rocked by him today. I don't think anyone gets to those, but it's good to have that, that major league depth in the minor league. So if someone does go down, that we're not pulling up, a too early, Tirso Ornelas or something like that.
Right. I feel better about Donovan Solano, both at the plate and in the field. Graham Pauley, near and dear to our hearts.
Yep.
But he's going through the growing pains. He's going through adjustments. He's learning on the fly. And it's hard to watch somebody out there learning and making those mistakes when everything is so important. And it just kind of highlights to me how impressive Jackson Merrill's been. That with the glove, he's looked outstanding. He's not far from being a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, in my opinion. He's taken really nice reads, really good routes. He's even handling the near collision type plays. He's handled those pretty well so far, and that takes a long time for a lot of people to learn. And at the plate, and he's putting in some of the best, most professional at bats of anybody on the team. And that's for a guy that played barely a half season in Double-A. It's impressive to say the least. But I'd rather have somebody like Solano coming off the bench than Graham Pauley. You pull him out and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next time the ball gets hit his way.
Right. Absolutely. This week on Plays of the Week, Jackson Merrill got number 28. that ball that he caught in the gap. I can't remember, it was last week, so I can't remember who they're playing against, but it was number 28. And so celebrate that. It's funny watching, Tatis and Machado and Bogarts just struggle. And then he gets up there 2 pitches later, he knock over the, double in the gap. You're just like, well, you almost think, as much as they say hitting is contagious, it's like, well, he could do it. Why can't you do it? And it's such a simple, stupid fan thought process I have. But you're like, you see these flailing swings from, a slider outside from both Machado or, Bogarts or Tatis. And then Merrill just lays off that stuff, or he hits an inside out pitch the opposite field. So it has been great to see him just flourish, and pitches know now they're going to start making the adjustment. And he's already had to make the adjustments once. He went through a little bit of a slump there after the first month of the season. And he seems to be holding his own right now. So, we were all wrong. I was all wrong about saying, hey, he needs to be in AAA. He needs more at bats. What are we doing? He has proved us wrong, and thankfully for that.
I've noticed. Maybe I'm just selectively noticing these things. Seems like he gets to a lot of 2-strike counts. He seems to get 0-2 a lot.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's worked the count full, and he's either drawing a walk or he's getting a base hit, or at least he's making a productive out. It just seems like he gets to more 0-2 counts than anybody, but then he's actually doing something good once he gets there. And that 2-strike approach is something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And when he gets a hit, now when he strikes out, it's like, oh, it's not like, oh, here we go. Like, oh, my, like, right now with Machado, Bogarts, and Tatis, like, you're killing me.
Yeah. All right, so tell us about what MadFriars has been pumping out the content lately.
Yeah.
They did a whole bunch of interviews in AA with all the pitchers out there, and it seems like day after day after day, they've been rolling out another one.
Today's Victor Lizarraga came out today, and I read that at work, and it's just a phenomenal piece. It was John Conniff that was in San Antonio that week and got all these interviews. So this is his interview with Ryan Bergert. In just under 3 years, Ryan Bergert has blossomed from an interesting development project into a promising starting pitching prospect in the Padres organization. While the first leg of his journey relied primarily on fastball with good ride, the 24-year-old now has become a more complete pitcher. Bergert made a deliberate effort to increase his pitch mix during spring training this year. Quote, we see his development path continuing as a starter. He is strong, physical, throws innings, and has weapons, which is a great combination. Mike Daly, the Padres assistant director of player development, told us heading into the season, now the Fort Wayne Tin Caps head coach. As someone who has worked hard to pound the zone heavily, the one thing he could now improve on is getting batters to chase out of the zone more. Mrs. Manager Luke Montz, with Ryan, it's about learning to pitch, using pitches more, and becoming a better pitcher. He's an intelligent, awesome human being and very zoned in. The more he continues to work on his 4-pitch mix, open up his arsenal, and open up his mind, the better his major league career will be.
So MadFriars, if we start the line of questioning here, MadFriars, you've walked hardly anyone this year. Is that from a mentality of being more willing to give up a hit rather than a free pass? Ryan says, I'm trying to be aggressive in the zone. Earlier last year, walks were a bigger issue for me, and I needed to make some tweaks. I've changed a few things in my delivery to help, and the spray is much more contained. So MadFriars follows up, this spring, you were throwing more different pitches than before. In the past, you've really been fastball dominant, but this time I saw a sweeper, a hard slider, a changeup, and a few others. Ryan, we've been messing around with some pitches, particularly the 2-seamer. I still throw a 4-seamer, a hard slider I call a gyro, a sweeper, and a changeup. I'm just starting to mess around with the 2-seamer, but it's not quite there yet. And then MadFriars asked the difference between the sweeper and the gyro. The gyro is harder, more of a pitch that gravity works on more. It looks like a heater, but then it just falls down and is around 86 to 87. The sweeper slider is big and more of a traditional slider, going more east and west than north and south. Do I remember hearing right that last year he was kind of more just a north-south kind of a pitcher?
Yeah, that's with the fastball.
I always find this interesting as we hear about guys working on their pitch mix, working on adding a pitch or adding, how they use their pitches, like going from some guys work inside out, some guys work top to bottom, trying to give batters different looks, change their eye level, that kind of stuff. And I never pitched, so it's fun for me to kind of live vicariously, trying to imagine, what they're doing up there and what the batter sees in response to that.
Absolutely. And there has been a little bit of, a learning curve. His past couple of starts haven't been horrible, but they haven't been great. He's been giving up some hard hits. He's been giving up some runs. So there is still some development there with him. There's still a long way to go for him to get better, but he has still stepped forward way more than he has come back, than he stepped back. So he's on his way right now.
Right. I think right now he's one step behind. I mean, Adam Mazur is just, they moved him up to AAA, and he's continued to succeed. So he's clearly the guy that they've got their eyes on, but behind him, I think Ryan's the next guy in line to get that call. Austin Krob has started to look very good, and his interview was also pretty interesting. But you hear him talk about pitching to contact, where before he was trying to avoid bats altogether.
Right.
These are the learning processes that it takes time to learn to trust your defense behind you, to trust that you can throw that ball on the outside part of the plate and it's okay for it to get hit. You want it to get hit because that's going to let you get deeper into the game. But so Bergert seems, other than, Mazur, he's got the electric stuff and he seems to know what to do with it. Bergert seems to be figuring out how to use his pitches. It's just a matter of, finding the consistency and for the numbers to start piling up.
Well, and that's where it goes right here. Other than consistency, what is the one thing you want to improve upon going forward? Bergert, consistency is always at the top of everything. I want to be the same pitcher, player, and teammate. It's very nice. For one thing, I want to be more intentional with my pitches, which I want a fastball down and away. I like it there, not leaking up a bit. Even if it's not a strike, I want the pitch to go exactly where I intend. And with that, there's going to be some learning pains. As you develop, you continue to learn who you are and how it works, and then go from there. You go up a level. You can get away with a hard fastball and A ball, high A. When you get up to the AA, when it really starts to hit, the rubber hits the road, you're going to have to learn how to, mix in those other pitches, which he's doing right now as he's learning to, the shape and when to throw those pitches. And they're getting knocked around a little bit, but you continue to develop it. That's why it's the minor leagues. It's development.
Right. I like what he talked about with intent and execution there, that you want to place the pitch in a certain location and you need to be able to deliver on that. So if that fastball leaks up just a little bit, that might be the difference between avoiding a hot zone and finding the barrel. The difference between a weak ground out to second and a line drive into the gap. And it's fine stuff, but I feel like, we watched Ryan Weathers struggle for so long. And that seemed to be, and the stuff looked pretty good. And there were times that he could hit his spots, but when he was missing his spots, he was missing in the worst places. Missing right at a guy's bat paths. And so it's not just having the stuff, it's being able to have the intent and to deliver on that intent. Your focus is something that varies. It comes and goes throughout the day, from pitch to pitch, even from moment to moment. And I feel like Adrian Morejon, I feel like he kind of gets in those places where the focus, the intent might not quite be as pinpoint. And that's, you see in 98, you're seeing a slider that does this, but still he's getting touched up because these are big league hitters. They make their livings hitting mistakes.
And if you keep making mistakes, even with the gas, even with the slider, you hang that, they're going to bang it.
All right, well, let's barrel right on through our little music break. Let's head right on into the affiliate rundown. I'm feeling good. You feeling good, Donovan?
I'm feeling good. All right, let's get into ACL. Painting the corners. Tuesday, Jesus Lopez pitched 3 innings with 1 unearned run. But true to the ACL fashion, the 18-year-old righty walked 4 batters, but managed to escape relatively unscathed. Friday, Yuri Landez pitched 1 2/3 innings. He walked 1, struck out 3 batters. Landez is coming back from Tommy John surgery after pitching for the Storm back in 2022.
Thought the name looked familiar.
Yeah.
And we have to preach this seems like every week we talk about, don't scout the stat line, especially guys coming back from Tommy John. It takes a while for the command to come back. You're looking for strength, you're looking for consistent velocity, you're looking for the stuff to have the right kind of shapes and all that, and worry about the stat lines later. So on the screw, Lamar King Jr. made his second straight start as DH as he returns from knee surgery. He continues his return from knee surgery, and once again had two hits and 3 trips to the plate. So he's been playing some catcher, but I think
Yeah.
they're just kind of giving him an off day here and there, kind of like Machado with the elbow.
Yeah.
You gotta and knee surgery for a catcher, they live on their knees. I can't imagine the kind of wear and tear that those guys get on their knees.
Absolutely. And he got knocked down earlier this week in the ACL. So I think he took a day or two off. I think it's a Jerry Espinoza post that on Twitter.
I saw that he had some action photos
Yeah.
of he got hit by a pitch, or he at least got knocked to the turf.
Absolutely. So, all right. So let's get on with it. In Lake E, painting the corners Thursday, Sam Whiting threw 4 one-hit innings in his longest start of the season as the organization continues to stretch him out as a starter. This guy was a bullpen guy for a very long time. It seems like every week we talk about him, we talk about stretching him out. The 2023 16th rounder owns a 1.69 ERA in 16 innings with 10 strikeouts split between the Storm and Fort Wayne.
We hear about starters becoming relievers all the time. It's like kind of going down the procession. You don't hear about guys relievers for several years and then they get an opportunity to start.
Yeah. And
I know we heard that with Seth Lugo, but I mean,
right.
it's very rare.
Well, that's when now he's an elite guy. He's pitched for a while. He can probably ramp it up a little bit better. But these young guys, it's a totally different mindset. You saw that with Michael King, and he talked about it, where the mindset of between bullpen and a starter is the mindset goes along with how you pitch. And so it's very important to learn that on top of learning how to work out, how to build up your arm strength, not only on the mound, but off the mound as well as a starter.
Right. I like that notion that so as a starter, you know that you're going to see this guy 2, 3 times. And so you don't want to show him everything. You want to reserve some stuff. You hold on to pitch. You don't show him your curveball until the second or third time you see him, where out of the bullpen, it's just grip it and rip it. Here's all my best stuff.
Yeah.
And like that quote about Robert Suarez, F you, hit this.
Right. Love that.
Love that quote.
We should
need to put that on a t-shirt.
God. We might need some permissions first. Hey, but Saturday.
Oh, I wasn't saying us. Somebody
right.
needs to.
Right. So Saturday, Isaiah Lowe earned his first professional win. This kid,
congratulations.
Once again, Isaiah Lowe struck out 6 in 6 innings, allowing only 1 run. This kid is the next kid that's going to be moving up the system. Every year, a guy pops up that you don't know, that wasn't a highly touted prospect. That just kind of starts to build his career. And Isaiah Lowe is that guy right now in A-ball.
He's the guy that, like MadFriars, they put out their top 30s every year. He's always in the back end of that mix because those guys, they get the information. They hear from the player development people and the scouts and whatever. They're like, hey, keep an eye on this guy. Because he's got the frame, he's got the build. He did it in high school. This is his second year in the Padres organization. I think he was coming off some kind of an injury last year. So yeah, Isaiah Lowe. I love that he pitched 6 innings. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You're starting to see guys going deeper into games. It seemed like 3 innings, 4 innings was what we've been talking about every week. Now we're starting to see these guys going 5, 6 innings. They're fully built up, but that's not just being ramped up pitch count wise. That also means that they're being efficient enough that they can make it that deep into the game.
Absolutely.
All right, so on the screws on Wednesday, your guy Rosman Verdugo hit 2 home runs.
Double bang.
His first grand slam came in the first inning, and he added his team-leading 6th homer in the 6th inning. Verdugo added a single and a double on Saturday. There's order in the chaos of baseball.
So yeah, if you read that, his first grand slam came in the first inning, and he added his team-leading 6th homer in the 6th inning. There's some order. There's some order. There's order and chaos.
So we interviewed Rosman last year, and he's not a big guy.
No,
I mean, like, he's athletic. But he's not a monster. He doesn't have shoulders like this. You look at him, he doesn't scream power hitter.
Right.
But he's leading the team in home runs. Well, speaking of big guys that look like power hitters, on Friday, Romeo Sanabria continues to smash A-ball pitching. He had a single and a double where he's hitting 331 with a 957 OPS, which ranks third in the Cal League. I have a feeling Romeo is not going to be in the Cal League for a whole lot
Yeah.
longer. As soon as an opening opens up in Fort Wayne, I think he's going to be heading east.
Yeah, I think they're really going to push him up to high A, probably somewhere after the All-Star break. After the draft and everyone starts coming back into the system, they'll start moving guys around, and Romeo will be up in high A, and we'll see how that goes.
Right. You mentioned the draft, that they do the draft earlier this year,
Yeah.
and without the short season A ball, I think we see more percolation, which unfortunately means more, that cycle of releasing guys.
Right.
It happens earlier in the year, and fortunate for us with Lake Elsinore in our backyard, we get to go see those guys before anybody.
Absolutely. And we've got to talk about, when we were talking about the Mets, Henry H squared
Yes.
went to NY squared. So he signed with the Mets, right? He in the minor leagues. Yeah. It was a minor league deal. Yeah.
Yeah, they assigned him to the Fort St. Lucie Gulf Coast League Mets. So I don't know if that's just a temporary move. Yeah, it's their summer league, but that might have been just to get him into the organization.
Okay. Right.
But a lot of guys, they get to that point, they get released from their first, he reached free agency with the Padres. Yeah. And that's the end of the road for most of those guys. Yeah. So I was just happy to see him get another chance to pitch in affiliated ball. So I hope he makes it. He's one of the more affable, charming kind of guys. He's got this big smile, and he always looks like he's having fun out there. So I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. I remember last time we were in spring training, he was taking grounders at short with everyone else.
Hey, pitchers are athletes too.
Dude, right? You know it. Okay, let's move on to Fort Wayne. Painting the corners. Wednesday, Jagger Haynes threw 6 quality innings, only giving up 2 runs on 5 hits while striking out 3. He retired the final 6 batters he faced. Big step forward. Like we said earlier, those starts were he was getting lit up. Then he was doing okay and then kind of falling apart. Just taking steps, we always say development isn't linear, but the season can be linear at sometimes. And it took a big step this last week. I caught a little bit of that. I didn't get a chance to catch any of the video, so I have none of that. But I watched him. He's just pounding the zone. The kid's got the stuff. It's just like the baby rattlesnake syndrome. He's got the poison. He just got to learn how to use it.
I've got his game log up here. This is the second time he's gone 6 innings in a game this year. He did it on 75 pitches a couple starts ago. He went 89 pitches in this game. So he's another Tommy John rehabber. So great to see him get through 6 innings. Yeah. Also great to see him ramped up to 90-ish pitches. Those are little boxes that you check on the way up. Yep.
Absolutely. So then Dylan Lesko turned in a high level 5 innings of work. The righty started with 4 scoreless innings before a sacrifice fly broke the 0-0 tie in the top of the 5th. Lesko struck out 7 and only gave up 3 hits. The right-hander picked up 16 swing and misses, thanks in large part to that elite 70-grade changeup. Once again, I caught a little bit of this. I caught the backside of this start. The changeup was absolutely dominant. And once again, development isn't linear, but having to take another step forward is another great start for both these guys. It's really good to see both these guys, who are, I believe, both of them are top 10 Padre prospects in their top 30 MLB pipeline, take big steps forward this last week.
Yeah, Dylan's the kind of guy that once he gets the command kind of fully back from Tommy John surgery, he's just gonna demolish high A.
Yeah.
When you've got the kind of stuff that he has, especially that changeup, he can just make guys look silly. Yeah. So the next step is going to be for him to move somewhere where guys have more of an approach. They understand when to look for that changeup. They might understand how to recognize it a little bit better. So I hope he gets a chance to move up to AA, that he, checks all those boxes and gets to move up, because I really want to see what he does.
Absolutely.
All right, so on the screws, on Saturday, Merwillian Cedeno hit a grand slam to secure the Tin Caps' 4th consecutive win. Tin Caps are rolling a little bit. Those apples are rolling. And then on Sunday, Albert Fabian hit a walk-off grand slam.
Walk.
Albert Fabian has been on fire lately. He's been the man in Fort Wayne. Walk-off grand slam to give the Tin Caps their 5th consecutive win. And here is the call from John Nolan right here.
Murphy at third, Bush at second, Bashirs at first. The payoff. Fly ball, high, deep, and gone! The Fort Wayne Tin Caps are the High A affiliate for the San Diego Padres. And in the brown and gold, Albert Fabian ends it with a grand slam at Parkview Field.
I watched that game live, and the game before they came back from like a 5-0 deficit to win the game. It was just a tight game. It went into extras. They gave up the 6th. They gave up a run, and I think the top of the 10th. He came up, and in the bottom of the 10th, bases loaded, full count. Like he was 0-2 and worked it to a 3. The full count, and it's like, there it goes, boom. And that call, what a great call. The Slam Diego, the Fort Wayne Tin Caps are an affiliate of the Slam Diego Padres.
Love it.
All right, so batting around Saturday also was the Tin Caps. They had their mental illness awareness night. This week, MILB and Radical Hope announced a new partnership aimed at addressing the mental health crisis across the United States by empowering young adults with skills and resources so that they're more equipped to cope before they reach a crisis point. Now, this last week, also on the Show Before the Show podcast, folks, MILB's official podcast, Mike Nutter went on there and talked about the importance of not only mental health, but mental health awareness. And they do this every year. I remember a couple of years back, we talked to Jackson Wolf when he talked about it. I think he talked about it on the pod, but he was also talking about it to the media about his own struggles as an athlete, as just a human being with mental illness. And, we think of these players and we think of athletes as like, they're just a separate entity. They're above mental health issues. They're above depression. They're above all of it. We just see them as something that's not human. When these people are human, they're kids, particularly in the minor leagues, they're kids, they're growing adults. Even, as grownups, mental health issues are so important. Me and myself, I suffer from alcoholism. I've been sober a long time. It's paramount that you be mindful of any mental health issues that you have. Don't suffer alone. Reach out. I always tell people when they're like, it's the 500-pound phone, folks. It's the 500-pound. I just I'm not feeling right, but I don't want to call my friend because I don't want to bug them with my problems. They don't want to hear about it. On top of that, I don't want to let them know that I might be struggling. But when we struggle in silence is when it does the most damage, because that's when the really bad thoughts come in, and nothing comes from that. No solutions come from that. So reach out, talk to someone if you have to. So let me continue here. As a part of the Mental Health Awareness Month, the Tin Caps are one of the selected teams offering a free workshop at Parkview Field where Radial, Radial Hope, is sharing mental health resources, skills, and exercises for building resiliency, as well as discussion-based activities to further the conversation on mental health. In partnership with Parkview Sports Medicine as well, the Tin Caps invited local middle school, high school, college, and club team captains and coaches for a wellness training day. That's another, that's fantastic that they do this every year. Additionally,
participants also received a free ticket and a food voucher for the game. Additionally, the following nonprofits had kiosks on the concourse: Fort Wayne's chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Remedy Live, Samaritan Dog, Sunny Path, and Great Kids Make Great Communities. To me, this is another example of that a baseball team isn't just a game being played on the field. It's also a facility, a part of the community. And when you have an organization like the Tin Caps that really embraces that, it 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 helps the community so much. It brings
Yeah.
people together and it gets them talking about things. It builds awareness. It gives people resources and makes connections. Um, so
It
these
takes away
are the
that
parts of baseball that make my heart grow.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes away the stigma, the stigma of like, we suffer. Depression feeds on loneliness and in silence. I have several people in my, I don't want to go too deep into this with my own family, but I have I have two brothers on the streets right now struggling with mental illness and drug addiction and alcoholism, but primarily it's mental illness. And it's so important to not, and by the grace of something, I have no idea what it was, that could have been me. But somehow I was able to take a different path, and really, you wouldn't have Friars on the Farm on here if I didn't reach out at some point and ask for help, which I did. And I have an incredibly, extraordinarily ordinary life, but it's not without its challenges. And life is life, and things happen. That doesn't mean my life is rosy all the time, every day. I have my challenges. We all have our challenges. But I do them with a partner. I do them when I have struggles. I reach out to friends. I reach out to my wife. I reach out to anyone I can to talk about it. And that takes away the stigma. That kind of lightens the load. Those rocks take off my back, and I give them to someone else, and they drop them for me. And the world gets a little bit lighter. Wow, that was heavy. I didn't mean to go so heavy, but
Okay, well, let's keep on moving. All right, so San Antonio, I'll take painting the corners this time. On Tuesday, Austin Krob was perfect through 5 innings until Donovan tweeted the eyes emoji on X and then promptly surrendered a single Sunday. Oh, man, but he was even better for longer. Krob delivered a quality start on Sunday. Southpaw allowed 4 hits and 1 walk in 6 innings of work with 2 strikeouts. Now, Krob is the guy in the interview. He was talking about pitching to contact, learning how to pitch to contact. And it got me thinking that in college, you don't want contact, because if they get that bat with a sweet spot this wide, if they get that barrel on it, it's going for a ride. But you get to the it's a wood bat ball. That's probably where the wood bat leagues help a little bit. But in the minor leagues, they need to learn to trust their defense. They need to learn how to throw that pitch with a little bit of a wrinkle that's going to miss the sweet spot and turn into that weak fly ball. Where in college, that one would be giving you whiplash.
Yeah. In 6 innings, he had 2 strikeouts. So all those other outs were either pop-ups or they were ground outs. He's a ground ball pitcher. That weak contact, it has to be, because he does not throw hard. He tops. He maybe touches 93 on occasion, but normally he sits 90 to 92, 91. It's the arm speed on the off-speed stuff and the slider that fool the hitters that get him out in front, or they get underneath it and it's a pop fly. As he continues to develop that skill, it's really going to make a difference, because we talked a little bit about this way back when Ryan Weathers was trying to turn into a pitch to contact guy, and he was just getting lit in AAA. But right now, someone like Austin Krob, it is working, and it's working well. But that's going to have to continue to develop, and that might, even if he does make it to the major leagues, it's going to have to continue to get better, because pitching to contact, as you move up the level, that contact gets harder and harder. So he's doing great right now for the skill set that he has, for the arsenal that he does. Friend of the podcast, we're stoked to see him. I watched that game, and I was like, God dang, he'd fastball, get over, strike. He didn't throw a slider. They were swinging early, and they're popping it up, or they were hitting it to the shortstop.
So Adam Mazur moved up to AAA, and that was a move that caught us by surprise. I don't think anybody really saw it coming, because it seems like the trend for the Padres and a lot of teams is to leave the pitchers in AA, especially the PCL teams, and then pull them up directly from there. But I've heard a couple different kind of theories about why they may have brought him up to AAA. What was your thought about that?
Well, he can pitch on the moon. He can pitch anywhere. And that first outing, he did really well. The second outing, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, wasn't so great. pitching in somewhere like Las Vegas, you just hope to survive. And he ended up giving up 5 runs. Once again, and that's not that much, in the Pacific Coast League, giving up 5 runs. It's like rec league. Like, we can come back from that. It's a natural progression to see someone that's pitching really well. He had nothing else to prove in AA. That was it. He had nothing else to prove. So let's see what they can do in AAA. And the adversity that comes with pitching in the PCL. Let's see what his mindset comes into. Let's see where he is emotionally as he sees better competition and balls that used to be, caught nowhere near the warning track, just pop-ups, start going out. Because every home run that gets hit is 400 and something odd feet. And he gave him he gave up a couple of those this last weekend.
And he's coming from the Wolf, where we've Nathan Martorella and Marcos Castellan. We've seen these quotes where they talk about, like, you put it up in the air and it's dead. It's coming back at you.
Yeah.
And so one thing I was looking at his numbers at his batted ball profile. And in AA this year, his home run per fly ball rate is 3% this year in AA. 3% of his fly balls left the field in AA. And I didn't dig any deeper to see if some of that was at Hodgetown when the wind was blowing out.
Right.
But I could see how you might learn to be a little bit complacent, like just trusting that ball, once it goes up, it's going to find a glove. Yeah. And so, maybe there's a lesson that they need him to kind of learn to limit some of the fly ball, because he does give up a fair number of fly balls.
Yeah.
So learn to get the ball on the ground a little bit more, and avoid the ball flying way over the head.
Once again, even with with elite stuff like Mazur has been showing, there's development to be had. There's learning to be had. And there's not only learning on the field, but how do you react to it emotionally? How do you react to it, in your head? And that's, I think, more important than really what's going on in the field is how are you going to deal with it when you do get revved up after 5 innings?
Right. Yeah, and he's also facing more advanced professional hitters. You got lots of former major leaguers, guys trying to make their way back up there. All right, so keep it on going. On Friday, Robbie Snelling had his best outing of the year, but got a no decision. Southpaw allowed 1 run on 2 hits while striking out 7 batters. It was his first start where he didn't allow a walk. That's a great sign. Javian Sandridge continued to deal. He pitched the top of the 9th and the 10th, striking out 5 in a row, and he got the win when the Missions walked it off in the bottom of the 10th. For you YouTube watchers, here's his last 2 strikeouts.
6 times so far this year, heading into tonight's action. 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss. 4 straight strikeouts for Brewer. The go-ahead run leads away at second with 1 down. 2-2 game in the 10th. The pitch, strike 3 called the outside corner. 2 gone in the 10th inning. 5 consecutive strikeouts for Mr. Javian Sandridge.
Shots. On Saturday, Victor Lizarraga, after pitching into some trouble in the first, where he loaded the bases with 1 out, the right-hander retired the next 2 batters to end the threat. Lizarraga put together one of his strongest outings of the season. In 5 2/3 innings of work, he allowed 1 unearned run on 3 hits. The right-hander allowed 1 walk while striking out 8 batters. Again, checking each of these boxes. 5 2/3 innings, getting deeper into games, only 1 walk, striking out 8. Great to see the kid, finally, I say finally, he's still so young.
He's really young still.
Yeah, taking that next step.
And I watched that game and I posted that video with all 8 strikeouts. He's just absolutely stud. He kept the ball down low as the ball was constantly, was never high in the zone. He kept the ball down low and kept guys guessing. And it just kept, they were either swinging over the slider or they were swinging under the fastball. And seeing it come from a kid so young, I think he's 20 years old now, might be 20 years old now, in AA doing so well. Later on, we're going to have that John Conniff interview with him in the coming episodes in the future, where he talks about that and his development. And it's a really good interview. So I'm looking forward to that.
He is 20 until November 30th this year.
Yeah.
He's just a baby.
Just a baby dealing in AA. Dealing. All right. On the screws, Ripken Reyes has shown off his speed in his homestand. He tripled on Tuesday and lugged out another on Thursday. Outfielder Robert Perez Jr., this kid has found his stride this month. In May, after going 2 for 4 Thursday, he's now batting .325. That's 13 for 40 this month in 11 games. He has 4 doubles, 8 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. He hit a bomb the other day. I think I posted that also on Twitter. He is just on fire. He came, I think, from the Cubs organization, and he was a minor league free agent signing.
Seattle.
I'm sorry. Seattle. He's been absolutely on fire in Double-A. All right, moving on. Friday is for walk-offs. In the 10th inning, Robert Perez Jr. was the placed runner at second base, the Manfred man. Zach Rex executed a sacrifice bunt to move Perez Jr. over to third base, and then Ripken Reyes won the game with a sacrifice fly to center, and that's what this looks like and sounds like.
Bloss and selling the starters have pitched well, but now they're out of the game. 2-2 to Reyes. Down the right here to Ready. Ford into the motion. Then the pitch on the way. Fly ball to center. This should be the ball game. Going back of the ball is Belton. He makes the grab, but here comes Perez down the line to third. He'll score on the Missions win it. A sac fly to center by Reyes, deep enough to get Perez in, and now they are mobbing Ripken Reyes as the Missions in 10 innings won the ball game by a score of 3-2. So Reyes, who had a triple and a run scored, drives in the winning run with a sac fly to center. Perez scores a 3-2 Missions win. So the series is even at 2-2.
So the Manfred man, I'm sure that's a reference that's going to be lost on the vast majority of, especially the younger generation out there. But Manfred man, didn't they do "Blinded by the Light"? Isn't that the band?
Yeah, that's "Blinded by the Light." Thank you.
Yeah. But then it's Rob Manfred who introduced the rule during his tenure as commissioners. I think people want to call it the Ghost Runner. That doesn't. The Ghost Runner is a real thing.
Right.
I mean, it's an imaginary thing, but we grew up playing sandlot baseball. Right. You hit a double. Right. Oh, Ghost Runner on second. And then you go back to the plate because you got to hit again. You don't have enough players to man all the defensive positions and run the bases.
Yeah.
It makes for some creative scorekeeping too. Oh, Ghost Runner would have scored on that.
Right. Which is when conflict and all that kind of stuff is worked out when you're a kid.
Yeah. Having those dirt hot debates. Sometimes it turns into a dust up. So be it.
Right.
Sometimes that's how you got to settle an argument.
Absolutely.
All right. So batting around, Missions infielder Robbie Tenerovich found unique ways to drive in runs on Tuesday night. In the first inning, he recorded an RBI after being hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. In the 5th inning, he drove in a run after being walked with the bases loaded. So you don't always have to swing the bat to contribute to the team.
No, manufacturing runs. That's how you manufacture runs. It shows up in the box score as an RBI. It's a drive into the gap. It's an RBI.
So I think we've spoken before. My nephew, this is his first time playing baseball, and he's 10. And so he's years behind all the other kids. And so I was trying to pump him up like, okay, you drew a walk, you got on base, you were able to steal a base. Somebody drove you in, you scored, you contributed. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't feel the same if he's not getting a hit. Well, the last regular season game, he got a hit. And then they only made it to the first round of the playoffs. They lost, but he hit a double. He hit the ball through the infield, got to second base. So, I'm a happy uncle.
Yeah. And he probably that'll get you the bug to next season. That'll make you want to play next season.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about that time I lined one into right center playing adult league, thinking, man, if I could get my rusty bones out there again, I might have another line drive in me. But you know what? I went on top.
Yeah, right. Something that's like same thing in batting practice. When you hit one real good, you're like, all right, I'll leave with that. Like that's good to leave on. All right, let's move on to El Paso and painting the corners. What we just talked about Tuesday, Adam Mazur picked 6 strong innings in his AAA debut for El Paso. After 6 starts in the season of this season in Double-A, Mazur allowed 2 earned runs and struck out 6 in 6 innings. It was the 3rd time in the last 4 games that the El Paso starter pitched 6 innings or more. Sunday, not so much. He gave up 5 runs on 7 hits in 5 innings. Welcome to pitching in the PCL, and definitely welcome to pitching in Las Vegas.
So Las Vegas has they have a bat dog. Their bat dog is retiring after this year. They have an understudy, so there will be a new bat dog. But congratulations to a long career for their current bat dog. Okay, so on the screws, on Friday, Tirso Ornelas homered for the third consecutive game, giving him 5 homers on the season. A night after he launched one 449 feet, this blast traveled an estimated 457 feet and left his bat at 104 miles an hour. He extended his hitting streak to 6 games. He's been hot in May, red hot in May, hitting 341, 400, 610.
And once again,
Go get it, young man.
Dude, absolutely. But hitting him like 449 feet, you would think that's a tank. In the PCL, that's like a standard home run. It goes 437, 450 feet. Like it's pitching, it's hitting on the moon.
Right. I'm looking at that velocity. 104 miles an hour it's a hard hit ball,
Yeah.
but it's not like elite hard hit. That's not like
Right.
Aaron Judge 450 foot blast.
Yeah.
So
At
in a
118
major league
off the bat,
ballpark
right.
at sea level, you hit 104 in perfect optimal launch conditions. Maybe that's going 420, but you go out to play on the moon and it's going another 30 feet on you. All right. So on Saturday, Eggy Rosario, he had a home run, he had a double, he had a hit by pitch, and Matthew Batten went 2 for 4 with a double, extending his hitting streak to 12 games. Matthew Batten was the player of the week in the PCL. I think I saw somewhere batted something like 560 on the week. Just insane. Cannot get the guy out.
Well, and once again, I watched some of those games in El Paso or in AAA, like there were in Vegas this week. He hit a ball on his front foot, and it almost cleared the fence. Like it was anywhere else, that's a double on the gap. But like you hit the ball and that just travels. Eggy. So this is what happened with Eggy in this game because I watched this game. He hit the bomb, he hit a double. First pitch in that third at bat, he gets beamed.
Oh, that's a message.
It looked like a message. Although, in AAA, you kind of want to give the guy the benefit of a doubt because also with the ball going out of the yard, occasionally those guys uncork one. But he took it like a man. He put his bat down and jogged to first base, and it was fine. But I'm like, it was very suspect.
Right. And the Padres seem to have been the recipient of some questionable pitches, I'll say. Seems like Tatis gets brushed back more than most. He's a little bit dramatic about it. Just the way that he's so athletic and the way that he moves, but he's got the long hair and all that. But I keep wondering when we're going to see somebody send a message back the other way. Yeah. It's bound to happen at some point.
Well, it's bound to happen when that guy on base, and if we get that guy on base, we're not winning by a run. When it's not, we get that guy on, we hit a guy, get him on base. That could be the tying run. That could be the winning run. Like we need to be out ahead, and put that guy on base with 2 outs or whatever, to make it, not come back and bite us in the ass.
Right. All right, so to put a bow on this episode, batting around, Matthew Batten's 12-game hitting streak is the longest active hitting streak in the Pacific Coast League and is tied for the longest streak of Batten's career. He has multiple hits in 7 consecutive games. So congratulations for Matthew Batten for having a heck of a nice week in the big leagues. In the we saw Xander Bogaerts go down with what looked like a pretty painful shoulder today. Yeah. I wonder if we might see a transaction. If they need to bring an infielder up, Matthew Batten's as strong a candidate as anybody right now down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's well deserved. One of those things where he might need to take a few days off. And if what I don't want to happen with Bogaerts is he comes back and that injury lingers and it affects his bat and it affects his plate appearances. And he's been kind of picking it up a little bit. He's been showing some signs of life. And this happens. We hope it's not one of those seasons where it just continues something steps in the way of him moving forward.
Right. Apparently Trevor Story had a similar play early this season and he just had shoulder surgery. He's done for the year. Yeah. So thoughts and prayers and Care Bear healing energy up to Xander Bogaerts that it's nothing serious. They did scans after the game and nothing negative. They didn't find anything. But like you were getting at, what I don't want to see him do is play through an injury and it winds up hampering him for the next 2 months. Yeah. If it's better for him to take a couple of weeks off, get some work done, get some R&R, go find a hyperbaric chamber to go sit in for the next 2 weeks and then come back fully healthy. That's what the team needs. And in the meantime, Matthew Batten can come up and just keep on raking and playing all over the infield.
Hell yeah. All right, that's it. 243 is in the can. You can find me on Twitter at SD Donovan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS. Let's go Padres.
Go Padres.
Well, I don't give a